Welcome to the ultimate PMP explainer. If you're currently gearing up for the Project Management Professional certification, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're taking a massive compendium of PMP terms and formulas and transforming it into your high-yield insider toolkit. We're cutting out all the fluff to give you exactly what you need to pass.
Because let's face it, the stakes are incredibly high. Think about it. You have exactly 230 minutes to navigate 180 complex situational questions. And let me tell you, rote memorization alone is just not going to save you here. You really have to get into the PMI mindset. So, throughout this explainer, we're going to dive into the exact frameworks, the critical formulas, and those situational strategies you literally need to systematically pick the right answer when the pressure is absolutely on.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We are going to cover every crucial domain. We'll start with PMBOK 7 foundations, move into conquering agile, tackle EVM and cost, navigate through risk, discuss team leadership, and finally, wrap up with the ultimate PMP exam mindset.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, PMBOK 7 foundations.
You know, modern project management has actually seen a massive shift lately. It's moving away from just rigidly memorizing processes and much more toward delivering actual, tangible business value. You can really see this holistic view when you look at the 8 project performance domains from PMBOK 7. To pass this exam, it's absolutely crucial that you deeply understand how these areas interconnect. We're talking about everything from engaging stakeholders and building high-performing teams, all the way to navigating uncertainty and measuring the actual value you've delivered. And that brings us to a core difference you have to know: the predictive or waterfall approach versus the agile approach. Predictive is all about detailed upfront planning, and it honestly works best when uncertainty is low. Agile, on the other hand, relies on short cycles and continuous feedback specifically because uncertainty is high. Now, here's a massive tip. Roughly half of your exam questions are going to test this exact distinction. But the trick? The questions rarely tell you which approach you're using. You have to infer it from the context of the situation.
Which perfectly sets us up for Section 2, Conquering Agile and Scrum.
Because Agile is heavily tested, you've got to master its specific terminology. Let's demystify 2 foundational terms right off the bat. A sprint is simply a fixed, time-boxed iteration. It's usually 1 to 4 weeks, and it's where the actual work gets done. And velocity? Please don't overcomplicate this one. It's literally just your team's speed, the amount of work they actually complete within a sprint.
So, how does this play out in practice? Well, if a team member isn't participating, you don't just fire them, right? You talk to them. That's classic servant leadership. If your velocity suddenly drops, you dig in and investigate the root cause. And if a stakeholder suddenly wants a mid-sprint feature, you protect the sprint and discuss it with the product owner. Remember this: PMI always wants you to investigate, collaborate, and coach before you ever even think about escalating an issue.
Moving right along to Section 3, Master EVM and Cost.
Now, I know the math section can seem incredibly intimidating for a lot of people, but let's break it down into super simple concepts. Just think of CPI, the Cost Performance Index, as your budget health. And SPI, the Schedule Performance Index, is basically your schedule health. For both of these, just remember one golden rule. Any number greater than 1.0 is good. It simply means you're under budget or you're ahead of schedule. That's it.
But we need to clarify a massive exam trap right here. Do not confuse earned value with planned value. Earned value is the value of the work your team has actually completed. Planned value, on the other hand, is merely the estimated value of the work you plan to do by this point in time. So always anchor your math in what you've actually earned.
Getting these exact formulas locked into your brain is a real game changer. Especially notice the PERT formula. It calculates expected duration by taking your optimistic estimate, adding 4 times the most likely estimate, plus the pessimistic estimate, and then dividing that whole shebang by 6. It specifically favors the most likely value by weighting it heavier. Definitely keep that one handy.
Okay, let's transition into Section 4, Navigating Risk and Uncertainty.
A truly great project manager has to be a master of managing the unknown, and there's a huge exam trap here regarding reserves, but I've got a brilliant memory trick for you. Contingency reserve is the buffer kept aside for known risks, the ones you've actively identified, and this sits safely inside your cost baseline. Management reserve, though? That's the buffer for unknown risks, the total surprises. Because they are unknown, that money sits outside your baseline.
You also absolutely need to understand the chronological sequence of risk. It's like a story. First, you identify individual risks and list them all in the risk register.
Then you step back, look at the big picture, and summarize it all in the risk report. Later on, during the monitoring phase, you actually conduct a risk audit to review exactly how effective your team's responses to those risks have been.
This naturally brings us to Section 5, Stakeholders, Team, and Leadership.
Managing people and conflicts is literally just as crucial as managing your budget. Think about how team development builds using the famous Tuckman ladder. You start with forming, where everyone is nice and polite. Then comes storming, and listen closely to this. Storming, where all the conflict surfaces, is a completely normal and necessary step. You literally have to go through the storm to get to norming, and ultimately reach performing, where your team is running like a highly efficient machine.
But when that conflict inevitably happens, how do you handle it? Well, PMI heavily favors the collaborate or problem-solve technique. That's your win-win approach where you incorporate multiple viewpoints. You should pretty much always aim for this, unless you're in a literal house-is-on-fire crisis, in which case force might temporarily be necessary.
And finally, we arrive at Section 6, the PMP exam mindset.
You've got the formulas, you've got the frameworks. Now let's talk about the ultimate memory tricks for exam day. Let's rapid fire through these. When WBS comes up, just think break work. For a burn-down chart, simply ask yourself how much work is remaining. Gold plating? That just means delivering extra unwanted features. RCA is all about finding the actual root cause. And float? That's just your schedule's free time. Simplifying these terms in your head is going to save you precious minutes on the test.
Seriously, if you only take away one single thing from this entire explainer, let it be this golden rule. When a problem occurs on the exam, your very first step is always to assess the impact. Review the plan, talk to the team. A true PMI project manager never, ever blindly escalates an issue to the sponsor or management without fully understanding the situation and the root cause first.
So as you sit there staring down those 180 questions, I want to leave you with this thought. When the exam throws a complex, high-stress scenario your way, are you going to panic and choose to escalate, or will you stop, act like a true servant leader, collaborate with your team, and assess the impact first? Keep this mindset razor sharp, trust in your preparation, and go crush that exam.